Hi everyone, we'll continue memorizing from the book of Hebrews. So we memorized up to verse 14. Today we are going to memorize verse 15. I'll read that first. Hebrews chapter 3, verse 15. While it is said, "Today when you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion." While it is said, "Today when you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion." So we were meditating on the rebellion of the Israelite people. So we started with verse 7 onwards, warning against unbelief. So we were meditating on the rebellion of Israelite people. So today I was going through the book of Numbers, where we see the journey of the Israelite people through the wilderness to the promised land. So I was just going through that and I saw that the rebellion is something that was happening continuously. So I was just going through Numbers chapter 12, where we see Aaron and Miriam speak against Moses. So Aaron and Miriam rebelled against God. Then in chapter 13, we see that Moses sent spies into Canaan, and they brought back a bad report, and only Joshua and Caleb brought back good news from there. And when the people heard that, they rebelled. Chapter 14, we see that the people rebel. They said, then all the congregation raised a loud cry, and the people wept that night. And all the sons of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron. The whole congregation said to them, "Would that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would that we had died in this wilderness. Why does the Lord bring us into this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become a prey. Would it not be better for us to go back to Egypt?" So they rebelled against God. They murmured against God. Then God was punishing them. Again in 16, we see revolt of Korah, Dathan and Abiram. We already meditated on that. Then in 20, we saw the waters of Meribah, where the people rebelled against Moses in Massa and Meribah. So that we meditated in detail. Again, immediately after that, 21, the bronze serpent. People again rebelled, and God sent snakes among them, and that rebellion was there. So people were continuously rebelling. So today I was reading all this, and one question came to my mind: why didn't people learn from their mistake? Right? They were continuously rebelling. So my daughter came back from her hostel yesterday. I sent her to Kerala for her +2 studies. So there was some influenza breakout in that place, and school is closed for 10 days. So she came back yesterday. So she was continuously talking to me, because there some restriction is there. She can only call for 15 minutes thrice a week. So she was continuously talking to me, and while I was meditating, she was sitting there and she was telling her own stories. Then suddenly I told her, "See, Mummy is going to take a class on this today. So why do you think people rebel so many times? Why didn't they learn from their lesson? Why they were rebelling? What is the root cause of that?" Then that question was unexpected. She was not listening to my classes because she doesn't have smartphone, or they don't allow any internet or any smartphone there. She can only use the basic phone. So she was not listening to any of the classes. So she didn't have the background or context. So she thought for a couple of minutes, and she suddenly related it with her. And she gave me an explanation, which I liked. So I thought I'll make her tell the same thing to all of you also, give that explanation. It's her own explanation. It may not be like it's theologically correct. What I feel is, when we read Bible, we should personalize it. We should relate it to us, right? When we hear the rebellion of the Israelite people, we should examine ourselves and see if we have the rebellion in us, right? So she was relating it to her life, and she was giving an explanation. So I thought it is we should do that way. So I always encourage my children to do that. When they go through Bible, they should relate, they should learn from that. I only see that that is in accordance with the church teachings. It shouldn't be any heresy or anything. It shouldn't be their own explanation, but they should personally relate with that. I just see that it is correct according to the teachings, according to the church teachings. But I always encourage them to meditate from that and relate to their life. So I thought she can give that same explanation she gave me. It's her own thought. It's not theologically the church teaching, but she was just relating it to her life and she gave an explanation. So I thought it is nice to share that. Ruth, you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah. Hi everyone. As my mother said, I am back from hostel for 10 days. I have been talking continuously to my parents, and at one point my mom was meditating on Israel's rebellion in the wilderness, and she asked me why people of Israel rebelled so much against God. Because God was with them right from the beginning. He brought them out of Egypt. He was with them as a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire. He gave them the 10 commandments. He gave them manna as food. And he was continuously guiding them through Moses and also directly. But they still rebelled. They still found it difficult to obey God's commandments and to follow his law. So Amma asked me, why do you think they rebelled so much? So the first thought that came to my mind was, am I not doing the same thing? Because I went to hostel the previous month and I will be in hostel for my 11th and 12th. So it's a very good hostel. The food is like excellent. I have no words to say. And the teachers are very good. They teach very well. It's a very supportive environment. I have good friends. The place is very clean and hygienic. And incidentally, like my place where we sleep is like a bunk bed. So like right on top of my bed, there's like Mother Mary's picture kept there. Everything is very pleasant. But the thing that I focus on is not on the good things. I focus on the fact that I cannot see my parents. I cannot see my siblings, my grandmothers. I cannot come home every time. I have to stay there like at least continuously for a month. And I cannot call my parents all the time because there are like specific times allotted. So I can call like only 3 times a week. So those are the kind of things that I focus. Even though I can attend Holy Mass and there are so many good things happening, I focus on all the bad things or things that I don't have. So I was thinking like, isn't Israel, that people of Israel doing the same thing? Like they had so many gifts and blessings and they had so many miracles from God. But they focused on things that they didn't have, right? So they were thinking, in Egypt, we had different types of food. We didn't have only manna. Or at one point, they're like, we don't have water, right? So the question that came is why? Why do we focus on those small things? So what came to my mind was, why did I go to hostel? Or why was I sent there? Because God has a plan about everyone, right? So probably what I am thinking is, I am going through this experience to become stronger mentally, right? And also emotionally, and to become more independent, right? And also to give my best shot in the entrance exam. So instead of focusing on that goal or instead of focusing on that plan that God has, I am focusing on the little things, right? Which I can easily neglect. Right? Even the people of Israel, God brought them out of Egypt for a specific purpose, right? They had to go through the wilderness. It's not easy, right? For 40 years, they had to live in that wilderness. But they had a promise from God that they would inherit the promised land, right? After all this, they had a hope that God has promised them that they will get the promised land. But instead of focusing on that hope and instead of focusing on the promised land, somewhere they lost focus and they started focusing on the small things, which if we focus on the main goal in the end, we would neglect all of these small things because that is so much of joy. It gives so much of joy to us, right? So I was thinking like even for myself, like instead of focusing on the end goal and what God has for me, I am focusing on things like I cannot call my parents or small things which I can easily overcome if I focus on that final goal, right? So the question is why? Why am I focusing? Why am I losing that focus, right? So the thing that came to my mind is somewhere I lost faith, right? I lost that conviction that God sent me there, that I can do it, right? God has this plan for me. I will have to do it. I lost that conviction somewhere, which is why I started focusing on the little things instead of focusing on that end goal. In the same way, Israel at some point probably lost their faith in God, right? They lost that hope that, at some point we will reach the promised land. They lost that hope somewhere. They lost that hope, which is why probably they started focusing on the little things and things that they didn't have. Because if they had that hope that, we will inherit the promised land, after all of this, we will still inherit that land. And for that, we will suffer anything to reach that place. Then all of these small things wouldn't matter so much for them. And the same way, it wouldn't matter so much for me. So this is my little thought, this small little meditation. It came very impulsively to my mind because I was going through the same thing. So yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Amma.
Thank you, Ruth. So I hope you all like her little meditation. I found it really interesting and I was very happy when she explained me this. I was really happy because she was connecting this incident to her life and she is learning something from that. So that part I liked very much. So I wanted to share this with all of you. Hope you all liked it. Thank you for watching this. I'll just conclude by reading the 15th verse once again. Hebrews chapter 3 verse 15. While it is said, today when you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion. Thank you. God bless you all.